The stars shone brightly across the endless black sky, and the vast silence of space carried secrets older than any world. On one of those distant worlds, a young human man named Daniel stood waiting, his heart heavy with questions. He was no ordinary man, yet he was no hero either. He was a soldier who had seen battles, an explorer who had crossed strange planets. But this night was different. This was not about war, not about duty. This was about something no training had prepared him for. Daniel was about to meet his alien bride. The ceremony had been rushed. Humans and the alien race known as the Eliari had signed a fragile peace after decades of mistrust. The council believed the only way to make that peace stronger was to bind their bloodlines together. And so, Daniel was chosen. He was strong, disciplined, and respected among his people. But he had not asked for this marriage. It was forced upon him, not by cruelty, but by the hope of survival. The Eliari were not like humans. Their bodies were slender, their skin soft with faint glowing patterns that moved like streams of light under the surface. Their voices were musical, and their movements almost too graceful. Rumors whispered that the Eliari were fragile, weaker than humans in body, but gifted with strange abilities. Daniel waited in the chamber. His hands were steady, but his mind was restless. He wondered what kind of wife would step through those doors. Would she hate him, fear him, or accept him? He had been told she was delicate, fragile like glass, but there was something about the way the Eliari elders had spoken that filled him with unease. They said little, and their eyes carried shadows. The doors opened with a soft hum, and there she was, his alien bride. She stepped inside with quiet steps, her form draped in silver cloth that shimmered like water under light. Her eyes were large, glowing, faintly with a soft hue, and her face looked almost human, yet different enough to remind him she was not of his world. Her beauty was delicate, her frame so slender that Daniel thought a strong breeze might carry her away. For a moment, he forgot his doubts. She was breathtaking, fragile yet radiant. She lowered her head in silence, her hands trembling slightly. Daniel could see the fear in her eyes. She did not want this union either. He felt it in her every movement. "I am Alara," she said softly, her voice smooth like a song, but there was a weight in it, a sorrow she could not hide. "I am Daniel," he replied, his voice firm, though he softened it for her. He wanted to ease her fear, even if he could not erase it. The chamber was theirs now. The council had left them, believing that the bond would begin in private. Daniel did not move closer. Not yet. He respected her space. He knew she was as uncertain as he was. Alara's eyes flickered toward him, studying him as if searching for something hidden beneath his human form. She stepped closer, her silver cloth swaying like mist. Daniel noticed faint markings on her neck, glowing lines that pulsed faintly. They looked alive, as if light itself flowed through her veins. "What are those?" he asked gently. She touched her neck quickly, as if ashamed. "They are nothing," she whispered, but her eyes betrayed fear. Daniel knew it was not nothing. He had fought enough battles to recognize when someone carried a secret. But he said no more. He let silence fill the air. Night stretched on. The two sat across from each other, strangers bound by destiny. Daniel spoke of earth, of mountains and oceans, of skies painted with colors at dawn. Alara listened, her eyes wide, as if she had never heard of such things. In return, she spoke of Eliari, of floating gardens, of crystal rivers that glowed in the dark. Her voice was soft, but her words painted pictures brighter than any star. For the first time, Daniel felt the distance between their worlds shrink. But beneath her delicate beauty, beneath her soft words, Daniel sensed something else. It was in the way her hands shook, in the way her glowing markings brightened when she grew nervous. There was power in her, something hidden, something the council had not told him. And when the night grew quieter, when silence wrapped around them, Daniel heard it. A faint whisper, not from her lips, but from somewhere deeper. A voice brushing against his mind like wind across glass. He froze, staring at her. Alara's eyes widened, and for the first time she looked truly afraid. "You heard it," she whispered, her voice trembling. Daniel nodded slowly. His heart pounded, not from fear, but from the unknown. Her delicate frame, her fragile beauty, It was all real, but beneath it lay something else. Something vast and dangerous. This was no ordinary bride. This was no ordinary night. And Daniel knew his life was about to change forever. The chamber grew colder, though no wind passed through its walls. Daniel sat upright, his soldier's instincts alive. His human heart raced, not because of the beauty before him, but because of the shadow she carried within her. Alara turned her face away, her glowing markings pulsing faster, as if her body betrayed emotions she tried to hide. She looked fragile, but Daniel knew fragility was not the whole truth. He had seen fragile things break, but she was not breaking. She was resisting. The whisper had been real. He was certain. It was not his imagination. It was not a dream. The voice had touched his thoughts directly, soft yet heavy, like an ocean pressing against his mind. "What was that?" Daniel asked quietly, his voice firm yet calm. He leaned forward, searching her face. Alara's lips trembled. "You were not supposed to hear it," she said, her words almost a confession. "It comes when my control slips." Daniel's eyes narrowed. Control of what? Her silence screamed louder than words. She shook her head, refusing to answer, but her markings glowed brighter, the lines running across her neck and arms lighting the room like faint rivers of fire. He rose to his feet, his boots echoing against the stone floor. "If I am to be your husband, then I must know the truth." His tone carried no anger, only demand, the voice of a man who had survived too much to fear easily. Alara looked at him, and her eyes filled with tears that did not fall. "You think I am fragile," she whispered, "but my people fear me." Those words struck him harder than any blade. Humans had always thought the Eliari were the powerful ones, yet why would they fear their own? "What are you?" Daniel pressed. Her voice broke. "A weapon." The word hung in the air, heavy as a mountain. Daniel felt the weight of it sink into his chest. He had been given a bride, but the truth was far more dangerous. She was not chosen for him. She was bound to him because of what she carried inside. Before he could ask more, a low rumble shook the walls. The chamber lights flickered. A distant alarm began to wail through the Eliari city. Alara stood quickly, her delicate frame suddenly alive with fear. "They have found me," she whispered. "They know I am with you." Daniel's training snapped into place. He reached for the blade at his side. The Eliari had not allowed him to bring heavy weapons, but a soldier never walked unarmed. "Who is coming?" he asked, her glowing eyes locked with his. "The hunters," she said. "They were sent to end me before I could ever be bound to you." The chamber doors shuddered under a heavy strike. Dust fell from the ceiling. Daniel stepped in front of Alara, his body shielding hers. He had no idea what power she truly held, but he knew one thing. If enemies wanted her dead, then she was worth protecting. The doors burst open. Figures cloaked in dark armor stormed in. Their weapons hummed with alien energy. They moved like shadows, silent and merciless. Daniel roared, charging forward with human strength that surprised even them. His blade clashed against theirs, sparks flying as metal met alien steel. He fought with precision, every strike born from years of battle, but they were many, and he was only one. Alara stood frozen, trembling as she watched the chaos. Her markings blazed like fire now, her breath ragged. Daniel shouted at her between strikes, "Run!" But she did not run. Instead, she whispered a word in her own tongue, a sound that echoed like thunder, though her lips barely moved. The air cracked. A pulse of invisible force exploded outward. The hunters were thrown against the walls as if struck by a storm. Their armor crumpled, their weapons shattered. Daniel staggered back, his chest heaving, his eyes wide with disbelief. He had seen bombs, cannons, and starship weapons, but he had never seen raw power like this born from a single being. Alara fell to her knees, her body trembling. Her markings dimmed, smoke curling from her skin as if the energy had burned through her. Daniel rushed to her side, kneeling. "Alara," he said, his voice urgent yet filled with awe, "what did you do?" She looked at him with weak eyes, tears finally spilling down her face. "I told you," she whispered. "I am not fragile, I am cursed." Daniel held her shoulders, steadying her. His soldier's mind screamed at him to fear her, but his heart refused. Instead, he saw a girl forced into a destiny she did not choose. Outside, alarms wailed louder. More footsteps approached. Stronger enemies were on their way. Daniel realized one truth in that moment. He had not been given a wife. He had been given a secret that could shatter the galaxy, and whether he liked it or not, he was now the only shield between her and the war that hunted her. The smoke had barely cleared. Daniel's blade still dripped with sparks from broken alien steel. Alara's body trembled in his arms, her glowing veins pulsing weakly like fading fire. The hunters lay broken around them, but the silence that followed was not victory, it was warning. "Why are they after you?" Daniel asked, his voice sharp but low. He kept his eyes on the shattered doorway, ready for the next wave. Alara struggled to speak, her lips pale. "Because I was never meant to live long," she whispered. "They feared what I could become." Her words pierced him deeper than any weapon. The council had spoken of peace, of honor, of unity, but never of this. They had not told him that his bride carried danger within her veins. The ground rumbled again, this time heavier, footsteps echoing like thunder across the Eliari halls. Daniel pulled her closer, forcing her to stand. His instincts screamed that staying here meant death. They ran through the corridors, alien walls glowing faintly with blue light. Each turn brought echoes of pursuit. The Eliari city was no longer safe. It was a cage collapsing around them. "Daniel," Alara said, her voice breaking, "you must let me go." He stopped, gripping her arm firmly, his eyes burned with defiance. "I don't abandon those under my protection." Her tears glimmered in the light. "You don't understand," she said. "I was given to you not for love, not even for peace. The council wanted to hide me, to bind me to a human. They thought your strength could cage my curse." Daniel's jaw tightened. His blood boiled with betrayal. The council had used him. They had made him a guard without telling him. They had married him not to join two worlds, but to chain her power with human loyalty. "They lied to both of us," Daniel muttered, his voice thick with rage. Before Alara could answer, the wall beside them cracked open. A figure emerged, taller than the hunters, its armor blacker than night. Its helmet opened, revealing an Eliari elder. His markings glowed brighter than Alara's, but his eyes were cold. "Alara," the elder's voice echoed, "you must return. You were never meant to survive the binding. Give yourself to us, and your curse will end." Daniel stepped in front of her, his blade raised. "Over my dead body," he growled. The elder smiled thinly. "That can be arranged." With a wave of his hand, the corridor twisted. Gravity bent. Daniel staggered as the walls rippled like water. Alara screamed, clutching her chest as her markings burned. Her body reacted violently to the elder's power. Daniel forced himself forward, every muscle screaming against the crushing weight. He swung his blade, but it shattered against an invisible barrier. The elder's power was beyond anything Daniel had faced. "You cannot protect her," the elder said coldly. "She is the end of your kind, of mine, of all. She is not a bride. She is the seed of ruin." Alara collapsed, her body shaking uncontrollably. Her glow intensified until the whole corridor burned with white-blue light. Daniel shielded his eyes but did not move away. He wrapped his arms around her trembling form, refusing to let go. The elder raised his hand, ready to strike them both down, but Alara's scream turned into something else. A wave of energy erupted from her body, sharper, stronger, more violent than before. The corridor exploded outward, throwing the elder into the shadows. Daniel fell with her, the world spinning. When the light dimmed, silence returned. The elder was gone, but his words lingered like poison. Alara's face was pale, her voice weak. "Now you know," she whispered. "Why they call me weapon. Why they call me curse." Daniel's heart pounded. He should have been afraid. He should have abandoned her, but as he held her fragile form, he felt only fury, not at her, but at those who condemned her for being what she was. "They will keep coming," Alara said faintly, "and next time they will send more than hunters." Daniel clenched his fist, his voice low and burning. "Then let them come. If they want war, they will find humanity standing at your side." For the first time, Alara looked at him not with fear, but with hope. But behind that fragile hope, the storm was only beginning, and Daniel knew the galaxy had just taken its first step toward a war unlike any before. The city burned behind them. Towers of crystal cracked and fell as alarms howled through the night. Daniel dragged Alara through the shattered streets, his blade gone, his strength stretched thin, yet his will held firm. He was a soldier, and soldiers did not break. Alara's steps faltered. Her body glowed brighter with every breath, as if the energy inside her was no longer caged. "Daniel," she whispered, "I cannot hold it much longer." He tightened his grip on her arm. "Then we keep moving," he said. "I won't let them take you." Ahead, the gates of the Eliari city loomed high, guarded by soldiers clad in silver armor. Their weapons sparked with energy. They had not come to protect Alara. They had come to stop her. One of the commanders raised a hand, his voice booming. "Human, release her now. She is a danger to all. Stand aside and you may live." Daniel stepped in front of Alara, his eyes blazing. "She is my wife," he growled, "and if you want her, you go through me." The soldiers raised their weapons, beams of light charging to fire. Alara's body shook, her markings blazing so bright they lit the entire gate. She clutched her chest, her voice trembling. "No, I won't let them hurt you." Before Daniel could stop her, a surge of raw power burst outward. The ground cracked open. The walls of the gate shattered. Soldiers were thrown into the air like leaves in a storm. The night sky exploded with light, a dome of energy spread across the battlefield, ripping weapons from hands and crushing armor like paper. Daniel shielded his eyes, but he did not move away from her. He felt the air burn, the power crack the stones under his boots, but he stood firm, holding her fragile body as she screamed. When the light finally dimmed, silence followed. The gate lay in ruins. The soldiers were scattered across the ground, groaning but alive. Daniel looked at Alara. She was on her knees, her body trembling, smoke rising from her skin. Her glow had faded to a faint shimmer, her face pale and tear-streaked. I didn't mean to," she whispered, horror in her voice. "I cannot control it, Daniel. I destroy everything I touch." He crouched down, placing his hand on her shoulder. "You protected us," he said firmly. "You saved me. That's not destruction. That's survival." But deep inside, Daniel knew the truth. This power could wipe out armies, crush fleets, burn worlds. If unleashed without control, she was not just a danger, she was a weapon of extinction. From the shadows, figures emerged, human soldiers this time. Their uniforms bore the mark of Earth's alliance, their rifles aimed straight at Alara. Daniel's blood ran cold. His own people had come. "Step away from her, Captain Daniel," the human officer barked. "By order of the High Command, the alien is to be taken into custody." Alara's eyes widened. Her body shook again, fear radiating from her fragile frame. Daniel raised his hand slowly. "She is not a prisoner," he said. "She is under my protection." The officer's voice hardened. "You don't understand, Daniel. She is not your wife. She is a weapon. We know what she did. The council told us everything." Betrayal cut deep. The Eliari had lied, and now the humans were complicit. They never wanted peace. They wanted control. Control of Alara. Control of her curse. The soldiers stepped forward, rifles glowing with lethal energy. Alara grabbed Daniel's arm, her voice breaking. "Please, don't let them take me." Daniel looked at his own kind, men he had fought beside, men he had bled with, and for the first time he raised his voice against them. "If you want her," he said coldly, "you'll have to go through me too." The human officer hesitated, his eyes narrowed. "You would betray your own race for her." Daniel's grip on Alara tightened. His voice burned like fire. "No, I would betray anyone who treats her like a thing. She is not a weapon. She is my wife." Before another word could be spoken, the ground rumbled again. Not from Alara this time, but from above. The sky split open as massive ships descended, black and jagged. The true enemy had arrived. The hunters were only the beginning, and as the alien fleet darkened the stars, Daniel realized the war had already begun. The alien fleet filled the night sky, black ships blotting out the stars. Their engines growled like thunder, shaking the very ground beneath Daniel's boots. He held Alara close, her fragile body trembling, her faint glow flickering with fear. The human soldiers froze, their rifles still aimed, but their eyes drawn upward. They had come to seize Alara, yet even they knew what loomed above was greater than any of them. The officer barked an order. "Fall back, regroup, we'll deal with them first." His voice shook, for even hardened men feared the sight of those warships. But Daniel did not move. He stared at the sky, his jaw tight. He had seen enemy fleets before, but this was different. This was not war for territory. This was a hunt, and Alara was the prey. Alara clutched his hand, her voice breaking. They won't stop, Daniel. They'll chase me across every star. They'll burn every world until I'm gone. He turned to her, his eyes steady. Then they'll have to burn me too, because I'm not leaving you. Her tears glimmered like crystal. But don't you see, she whispered. I'm dangerous even to you. I cannot control this power. I could destroy you without meaning to. Daniel's voice hardened. You are not my enemy, Alara. You are my wife. For a moment, silence stood between them, fragile yet powerful. But the thunder of engines grew louder. The alien fleet began its descent. The human soldiers retreated into the city, but Daniel stayed. His heart pounded, his instincts screamed, yet he refused to abandon her. Suddenly, beams of light rained down from the alien ships. Explosions tore through the city. Fire spread across the towers. Cries filled the night. The hunters were no longer shadows. They were an army. Daniel pulled Alara into cover, pressing her against the ruins of a fallen wall. You have power, he said, his voice low but fierce, and I have skill. Together, we survive this. Alara shook her head violently. If I unleash it again, Daniel, I might kill everyone, including you, including this whole city. Daniel gripped her shoulders, his eyes burning with defiance. Then trust me. Trust that I won't let you lose control. We fight together, or we die together. Her breath trembled, her eyes locked on his, searching, testing his resolve. She saw no fear, only fire, and for the first time she nodded. The hunters struck, armored figures pouring from the skies, weapons glowing, their movements swift and merciless. Daniel leaped from cover, his blade replaced by a fallen rifle. He fired with precision, every shot a soldier's skill, but for every hunter that fell, two more came. Alara screamed, her markings blazing. Daniel shouted, Focus, Alara. Don't let fear own you. Let me be your anchor. Her glow flared brighter, not wild, not chaotic, but steady. For the first time, her power obeyed her heart instead of her fear. A wave of force surged outward, not destroying everything in its path, but striking only the hunters. Their bodies crashed to the ground, weapons shattering. Daniel looked at her in awe, breathless. You did it. Alara collapsed against him, tears streaming down her face. Oh, only because you were here. Without you, I am chaos. With you, I am whole. But there was no time for relief. The alien fleet adjusted. Massive cannons on the warships charged. Energy humming in the sky. Daniel realized what they intended. They would not risk her escape. They would level the entire city. Alara's eyes widened, her voice trembling. They're going to wipe this world clean. Daniel clenched his jaw, fury in his eyes. Then let's show them what humanity and Eliari together can do. He pulled her close, their foreheads touching. You are not a curse, he whispered. You are our weapon of survival, not theirs. Alara closed her eyes, her glow rising again. This time not in fear, but in trust. Her power began to merge with the human rifle in Daniel's hands. The weapon blazed with new energy, brighter than any star. Daniel aimed at the sky, his heart steady, his wife's power flowing through him, and for the first time, human steel and alien fire became one. The first warship trembled, light piercing through its hull, and as it broke apart, a new truth became clear. Together, Daniel and Alara were not prey. They were the beginning of something greater. The broken warship burned in the sky, its wreckage falling like fire across the city. For a moment, silence spread. Humans, Eliari, and hunters alike stared upward in disbelief. A single human soldier and his fragile alien bride had destroyed what entire fleets feared. But silence never lasts in war. The human command ship descended through the smoke, its black hull marked with the insignia of Earth's alliance. At the same time, Eliari council ships appeared on the horizon, their silver towers glowing with cold light. Both fleets surrounded the ruined city, their weapons aimed not at each other, but at Daniel and Alara. Alara's breath caught in her throat. They've come for me, she whispered, her body trembling, both of them. Daniel stood firm, rifle still glowing with her power, his eyes narrowed. Then let them speak. The sky lit with beams of communication, holographic images forming before them. On one side stood the High Commander of Earth, armored and grim. On the other, the Eliari High Elder, his glowing markings burning brighter than any soldier's. Captain Daniel, the commander's voice thundered. You have disobeyed direct orders. Hand over the alien at once, or you will be branded traitor to humanity." The elder's voice followed, colder and sharper. "Human, surrender Alara to us. She is not your wife. She is a danger to all life. We created her, and only we can end her curse." Alara clutched Daniel's arm, fear and sorrow in her eyes. "They will not stop, Daniel. If you give me to them, they will kill me." Daniel's jaw tightened. He looked at both fleets, his voice steady. "You speak of peace, but you both see her as a weapon, not as a living being. You think you can control her, chain her, destroy her, but you forget one truth." His voice rose, filled with iron. "She is my wife, and I will never surrender her." The commander's eyes darkened. "Then you doom humanity." The elder's markings flared. "And you doom the stars." The fleets armed their weapons, thousands of cannons charging in unison. The ruined city shook under the hum of war machines. The people below cried out in terror, trapped between two powers ready to erase everything. Alara's tears fell, glowing as they hit the ground. "This is my fault," she whispered. "If I had never been born, none of this would happen." Daniel turned to her, his voice fierce. "Don't ever say that. You are not a mistake. You are the only truth in this galaxy. And I swear, I will protect you even if I have to fight the universe itself." Her glow flared, brighter than ever before. Her markings blazed like fire across her body. Her power surged into Daniel's rifle, into his armor, into his very veins. For the first time, he felt her strength flow through him fully. Not wild, not dangerous, but united. The fleets noticed. Alarms spread across both commands. The elder's voice broke. "Stop, Alara. You don't understand what you are. If you release it all, you will end everything." But Daniel's voice thundered back. "No, she will end your lies." The first barrage of fire came from the human fleet, beams of energy streaking across the sky. At the same time, Iliari cannons opened, turning the night into blinding light. Both sides unleashed war, not at each other, but at Daniel and Alara. Daniel held her hand tightly, their bodies pressed together as the world burned around them. "Alara," he whispered, "this is our choice, not theirs." Her tears glowed, but her voice carried no fear. "Then let us choose together." The ground cracked, the air trembled. Alara screamed, not in terror, but in defiance. A wave of energy burst forth, rising into the heavens. It struck the human cannons, the Eliari fleets, the hunters still circling above. Ships shattered, weapons turned to dust, skies lit with fire. But this time, Daniel's hand anchored her. His strength steadied the storm. Together they controlled it, guiding the destruction not at innocence, but at the war machines that sought to erase them. When the light faded, silence returned once more. Both fleets crippled, their proud weapons broken. The elder's hologram flickered, the commander's face pale. Neither had won. Both had been humbled. Alara collapsed, her glow dimming. Daniel caught her, his arms strong, his voice fierce. "You see now, she is not your weapon, she is our hope." The elder's voice trembled with fury. "You have made an enemy of the council." The commander's voice followed, cold and final. "And of humanity itself." Daniel's eyes burned like steel. "Then so be it. We will build our own future, and neither of you will stand in our way." And with those words, the galaxy shifted. Two empires declared war on one man and his fragile alien bride. The galaxy held its breath. The ruins of two fleets floated above the shattered world. Flames still burned across the city, but the battlefield was silent. All eyes turned toward the fragile pair standing at the center of destruction, a human soldier and his alien bride. Daniel stood tall, his armor scorched, his hands steady as he held Alara close. She trembled in his arms, her glow faint, yet her eyes shone with a strength that no council, no commander, no empire could erase. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the High Commander's voice cracked through the comms, filled with fury. "You've destroyed everything, Daniel. You've betrayed your kind. There will be no place left for you among humans." The Eliari elder's voice followed, bitter and cold. "You are no savior, Alara. You are the spark of war, and we will hunt you until the stars themselves die." Daniel's voice thundered across the ruins, sharp and unshaken. No, you are wrong. You both tried to chain her, to use her, to break her, but tonight she chose her own path. Tonight she is free. Alara lifted her head, her markings glowing faintly, her voice soft yet clear. And I am not alone. She took Daniel's hand, their fingers entwined. A wave of warmth surged between them, not wild destruction, not chaos, but harmony. The ground itself trembled as their bond deepened. The power inside her did not lash out this time. Instead, it flowed through Daniel, steady and focused. His human will guided her alien fire. Together they created something new. Above them, the wreckage of ships shifted, pieces rising slowly into the air, glowing with Alara's energy. Daniel's heart pounded, not from fear but from awe. The light spread across the sky, forming shapes, merging steel and crystal, human and Eliari. Before the eyes of both fleets, a new vessel was born, larger and brighter than anything either empire had built. And its core pulsed with the same glow that ran through Alara's veins. Its frame bore the strength of human design, Daniel whispered, his breath heavy. This is us. Alara leaned against him, tears falling. Not a curse, a creation. The commanders watched in silence, their pride shattered. For the first time, they saw not a weapon, but the birth of something greater than themselves. The hunters, those shadow assassins, retreated into the void, their fleet crumbling, their courage broken. For even they feared what now stood united. Daniel and Alara stepped onto the shining vessel, its doors opened to them as if alive, accepting them as its heart. From the bridge they looked out upon the stars, Alara's glow steady now, her fear replaced with calm. Where will we go? She asked softly. Daniel's eyes burned with fire. Anywhere they tell us not to, anywhere they fear us to tread, we will not bow to empires, we will not surrender to councils, we will carve a future of our own. Her delicate hand squeezed his, and for the first time her smile carried no sorrow, only hope. The great ship rose, its engines blazing with a light never seen before. The galaxy watched as one fragile bride and one defiant soldier became something more. Not a curse, not a weapon, but the dawn of a new power. The commander's voice whispered in fear, What have we done? The elder's voice trembled, What have they become? As the vessel vanished into the stars, Daniel held Alara close, his voice steady. This was supposed to be one fragile night, but it became the night the galaxy changed forever. And so it was written, that a human and his alien bride, bound by love, not control, defied two empires and gave birth to a destiny greater than either could imagine. Humanity had proven once more that when faced with chains they rise, and even in love, they conquer.